Oh, from the other one, from 3AI
Can you do that or
Atlas.
no?
I can if you promise. Well, I'm not supposed to, but I will if you promise not to share them with anyone.
I'm going to share it. I'm going to share it on the podcast. I'm
Oh,
going to share it on. Okay, never
I can't.
mind.
I can't. Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
can't. Well, I can't do it till it's. I mean, I have to respect it. You know, I'm not even really supposed to talk about it, but he's a friend of mine. But
Okay.
it was his project, and so it's I'm just a participant
Okay. Well,
in
I,
this
I
one.
understand that completely, but I just
Mhm.
had to get in there and try. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to Encounters USA. If you are new to the Encounters USA podcast, we do aliens, we do Bigfoot, and we do Dogman. And in the last year, 2 years, I've been doing a couple projects, documentary projects, in which I have used these people called remote viewers. If you don't know what remote viewing is, I suggest you get up to speed on it. But what these people do, and what all humans apparently have the ability to do, is to remotely look at something, just given a target. So I have used remote viewers on my documentary, Cascade Bigfoot Blood Mystery, when I couldn't find the answer to anything. And right now I'm working on a project where I'm looking to solve a really long-standing mystery, and with no other evidence, no other, there's so many possibilities, but I used remote viewers to narrow down what could have happened. And so I ran across David Powell here, and we're going to talk today about something that I find extremely fascinating, and that is um, this Atlas asteroid. I don't know. We're not going to call it a comet yet, but how exciting is it? David has tasked a bunch of remote viewers to actually look at the comet. So as soon as I heard that, I haven't done this podcast.
Actually, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to correct you, but I interrupt you. But somebody else tasked it to me. I was a remote viewer on that project.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I cannot say right now how far it's an ongoing project, so I don't know how far David wants to go into what their findings are, but just the fact that they're using remote viewing to look at it and to give you a heads up that this is really going on. And I'm just going to welcome David to the show before I throw in my 2 cents worth about what I think that thing is. So,
Mhm.
David Powell, welcome to Encounters USA. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have you here, and I really love your work. I suggest you go to David's Facebook page. But again, welcome to Encounters USA.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, so let's get into your let's get into what you before you've remote viewed this thing. You heard about, there's another one of these objects coming into the solar system. So what's your initial thought? What's your initial reaction?
Well, it's interesting. I actually, it's I don't believe it's coincidence anymore. There's very sometimes synchronicities tend to happen. I had done a project where I had one of the most the tasking was like something like this really important target that you're going to be doing up in the future, and I had something like colliding with the Earth, like I didn't know what it was. I couldn't tell if it was an asteroid or something. But I got the sense that something was hitting satellites and then going down. And then I had done a timeline on it, and I got like 3 months to 3 years, possibly. So I had just reposted, and then I had gotten a tasking that just happened to be the 3AI Atlas, and I was going over both data. I'm like, boy, this is it. This almost looks like the same session. So from my findings on the last one, which should be a pretty provocative project, but it does seem artificial. Um, it does seem, at least from my perspective, built. I picked up on things that were on it and in it. Um, I perceived non-human beings in it. Um, I perceived what I can only describe as robotic sentries in it, and I did see some corroborating data too on that, which is really bizarre. Um, but in an overall sense, I didn't get lollipop dreams, sugar plum. It wasn't a good vibe overall to me.
All right. So, of course, everybody has questions, and I don't know, remote viewing something. I don't know how deep you can, or how much you can actually explain about something that you're looking at. But let's start off with you say that you think there's something alive on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
How many? How much? Do you,
Many, many and different forms of life. Um, you see, I haven't seen any corroborating data. I was the first one done. I'm usually the first one done on the project.
Mhm.
So now I'm waiting to see everybody else's stuff. But I did see a little bit, which would indicate, it's funny. Like I sketched this robot in my session. I'm like, and I described it as a sentry, like a sentry robot. I'm like, this is so bizarre. Um, but I did see indications of that in one other session as well, which is very strange. But as far as the non-human life, just to be honest with you, it was basically primarily reptilian type. That's what I picked, and I've only picked up on those things maybe 5 times in my whole career. I haven't picked up on them many times, but that's the sense I got of it. Now, if it's not coming here or landing here, or I don't know where else it would go, because I did pick up on humans as well, um, as to like the nature of what this thing is doing.
Okay, so let's go back to that. You picked up on humans are on that thing, or this has something to do with humanity.
Well, what the whole session felt like to me um, was as if something came down to a planetary body with human beings, whether it be here or somewhere else, and there was this. I had people like chanting, almost as if they were like worshiping this thing. It reminded me a lot of like stories you'd hear about like ancient Nephilim and stuff coming down. What was interesting was, when I opened up on the session, I felt modern structures, as if something was coming from the sky. And so the structures felt modern to me, like apartments, whatever, just structures. And I was getting a perspective from the sky. And then this object was doing something to the minds of these people. It was very bizarre. Um, so I don't know. I look back into history, like the whole thing with Courtney and Halbop. I'm just very hesitant to say that but you have all this corroborating evidence, with the other sessions, and I'm expecting. I felt pretty confident I was on target. So, I mean, I've already seen some, like, as far as robotic aspects, I've seen some corroboration on that. I've seen corroboration that's not natural, um, and it's very sciency. And there's some other aspects that are very provocative and interesting. Um, but I suspect this is going to be a very hot target. You're going to see multiple groups hit this target because it's such a big deal right now. People
Okay.
are very curious.
Okay. Now, before we go into my theory, did you remote view Uemama or the
Yeah, 3 times, 3 separate times, 3 separate taskers.
okay, and did you get things that were different than what the fake news tells us?
Yeah, yeah. It's I got a derelict craft 3 times. It's a craft that's in like an emergency stasis mode. People are floating around dead in it. It's basically it seems like it has some functionality. I don't know if it's some kind of autopilot or whatever, but it seems to be some kind of vessel that has been damaged, and I don't think there's anything alive still there. I think it's just
Wow.
maybe going through this pattern, maybe doing some kind of auto cycle or something. But I did that target 3 separate times with 3 separate taskers, and I get the same thing every time.
Wow. Because I think that Farsight, Courtney Brown's outfit, they remote viewed it. I think they said the same exact thing. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you saw that, but I have seen that somewhere, and I know it wasn't from you. So yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
that does make perfect sense. And in fact, that came out like when that thing first kind of showed up, is people started saying that. So this is my theory on it, and I think that that thing. Um, is is I don't know what it is. Like you seem to have a biological life form on it, whatever, but I think that thing is going to hit a certain point. I don't know what planet it goes to. The last one it goes to before it leaves the solar system, if it's Jupiter or Saturn, but I think it's going to slingshot around. I think it's going to just at the last minute head in our direction. And I think that's going to freak people out. And then, how are they going to cover that up? So, any thoughts on that wild theory?
Uh,
So,
I
okay,
really,
can I ask
yeah,
you this? Is it under its own power or is it on Newton's physics?
no, it definitely felt like it was under its own power. Actually, I um, I declared a interdimensional engine, but what it seems to be, which is very strange, it kind of reminds me of Oumuamua in the sense where it's almost as if it's part natural and part artificial in that it just makes you wonder is like are they building ships to look like meteorites for some reason to protect themselves? I don't know, I don't really know, but it kind of reminds me of that. Like it almost reminds me, it's almost as if it has this natural and artificial kind of raw materials to it. um but I had cell structures, like many rooms, compartments, very sciency. I had even on board the what looks like the whatever you want to call it, the ship or the whatever, uh, like working with things. People were working on sciency type things. Um, so yeah, so it makes me wonder, like if this thing. I also had stuff about the polar regions, as if it either came from a polar region or it's heading to a polar region, like South Pole, North Pole. Um, because basically it was like the nature of the object, and then I did a retasking of its the primary structure and the primary goal, which it was very condensed, and basically I just had this thing leaving a planet, um, heading somewhere, and then this sense of like influence. Um, so what makes me wonder is if it's not. I felt it was definitely like heading somewhere with humans, and it just makes you wonder, like if it wasn't going to Earth, where else would it go with humans on the planet? It's just strange. The
Well,
whole target
I
was
have a
strange.
theory about that, and that is if you're and I don't want to scare anybody, but if you're out exploring the galaxy, then you're going to need something to eat, right? And what do we do when we're out traveling? We stop at McDonald's. So who's to say somebody's not going to think ahead and say we're going to need to stop and eat somewhere. So we're going to plant some, protein out there in the far reaches of the cosmos. So when we show up, we'll have something to eat. I don't know, but that would seem to be one of the you know, things that we shouldn't be surprised about if that's what, and I was talking to my wife last night about the old Twilight Zone, and you're probably too young to have ever seen that episode of the Twilight Zone. It's a cookbook.
Oh yeah, I seen that one. Oh yeah,
Okay.
the big headed guys, and
Yeah, right.
the book is like some kind of peace thing, and they finally
Yeah.
decipher it, and it's a cookbook. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
that's what I think a lot of people still think that way, but it wouldn't be surprising, and it would make perfect sense. But going back to your ship design, form follows function, right? Not an engineer, but maybe some species do things a certain way for certain reasons, and it is perfectly camouflaged. So if it's floating by or whatever, then unless you're but it doesn't obviously look like a spaceship. And who knows, maybe that's just space debris, some kind of stuff that just accumulates on a ship over time. So
Hmm.
anyway, but yeah, it is so fascinating, David, to think about this. So how many people are on the project so far? Do you know of?
I believe there's maybe four or five.
Okay. And
Yeah,
you've got corroborating evidence. I
I've
mean,
seen one. I've seen one other session, I think, with similar things to mine, in that there's some kind of structure that seems, it's almost like it's half metallic, and then half like rock or something,
mhm.
which is kind of similar vibe that I got. And and then that robotic aspect, and then some of the intentions and stuff were very similar. So I'm still waiting to see on the life. But what's funny is I told the tasker, I said, if I see somebody sketch a robot, I'm gonna it's gonna blow my mind. And then sure enough, that's
Yeah.
what I saw. um
Can I
so it's
ask you,
just,
have you
yeah.
seen anything that you remote viewed? Have you seen it like a species or the robots that have been in another account that somebody's been like an abduction or something?
um
Do you recognize anybody or anything?
well, there was gray type beings that seemed similar. um I've seen reptoid kind of types um, in sessions that seem kind of similar. Um, but it's the first time I've ever sketched something like that, like a Sentry type robot. I've never seen anything like that. Um, so what their purpose is, I have no idea. But it's just very bizarre. I mean, it was almost like best representation would be like a C3PO type of thing. It was strange.
But
Um,
they're keeping order on the ship, right?
well, I actually labeled him as a sentry, so I don't know what that
Oh,
if
okay.
it's
But
you know
Century for who we don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I did have a sense of like forces, like there's a lot more of them than us, or of us of them, or something. So and I did have direct contact. Now again, it just seems like you know unlikely. That something would come down and all this stuff. So it's, but then you see the corroborating evidence. It's like, what the hell's going on then? Like, why are we all picking up on this?
Yeah.
Um, so what I do when I do stuff without verification that I can't verify, I always tell my audience to just, by all means, put it in your target pool, send other people there, because I don't really care about being right. I just want to know what the objective, what's the truth of it.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's very strange. It's
Yeah.
very strange. It's interesting times for sure to be living in.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, jump into what you're talking about because this is the best place to do it as any, I guess, is that when you're talking about remote viewing, it is not like you're looking at a picture of something. You're not looking at a video. You're actually, I don't even do it. So I don't know what you're looking at, but what I find fascinating is that across the spectrum of people, and you can see that in my Cascade Bigfoot Blood Mystery remote viewed movie and in Blood Trails, that people across the country are able to describe a campsite, the physical settings, and then go into, who's the culprit and what's the intention. And the fact that, if it's one person, you go, okay, that's, it's interesting. But when it's across a realm or a spectrum of people that are not, related to each other in any way, or associate with each other, that they all come up with the same like environment, and and sometimes they go into the you know perpetrators and whatever. So when you get so many people saying the same things, for me, that just speaks. I mean, what about the human brain that can do that? So it's just it's so interesting to me. And I think that what we're doing and what you guys are doing and what I'm doing in my projects is the way that it's going to be used. Get the consensus of enough people, and then you've probably got what you're looking for. Is that what you guys are basically? Is that how you're confirming, your data by the corroboration?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very
As much as you can confirm, I have to say
well.
that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, from my perspective, if I'm just going to be responsible and look at this as science until we have physical verification, I can't. I can't place it in the fact quadrant. You know what I mean? I have to just it's still unverifiable until we know otherwise. All the data stacked with it though is provocative and interesting. I mean, you go back to Ingo Swann with the moon. I mean, I've done so many sessions around the moon, bases and mining operations, and psychics getting booted out of there. Very similar to what he's described in the book Penetration. And other remote viewers have done the same thing over and over and over across projects and decades. So, it begs the question, like, this is either going on up there, or all the psychics are suffering the same mass hallucinations for reasons unknown, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Um, so you see enough of a pattern of the stuff. It's just like I always shrug my shoulders. I don't know, but if you put a gun to my head, do you think it's probably accurate. It's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
so go ahead.
all right. I'm sorry. So yeah, well, let's go into so what's the process next? How are we going to get all of the information from your project?
There's a project manager. He'll release it. He's compiling the data. He'll publish it once everybody's data is done. He'll publish on his in his group, and then I'll swing it around on social media, and when he's done with it. But yeah, and like I said, it's unlikely we'll be the only ones. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if Farsight ends up doing this. I wouldn't be surprised if crypto ends up doing this, um, because it's just a big target right now.
Mhm.
Everybody's curious. Um, Now, what's going to be interesting to me is which is a very good thing, because what I would suspect is now that'll give us the opportunity to take data from across projects and collate it and say, okay, everybody's getting the same thing.
Mhm.
So, what I'm curious to see is if they're getting the sense that it's coming here. That's what I'm curious about.
Mhm. Okay, so let me just reiterate that question. Is it coming here?
Um, my data would indicate that it felt like it was coming here. Yeah,
Okay.
just being honest. Yeah.
Okay. And so I just think it is. I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
any idea, but I do think they're going to slingshot over here, and they're going to do it. They're basically going to keep a trajectory so the sun's like when the Arabs used to attack with the wind at their back, so the enemy would have the dirt in their eyes. And I think that if they, and this is all just pure crazy speculation. I don't know anything, but if you're a thinking, people who do this, they would come in under the light of the sun, so they couldn't be detected until, the last minute. And then that gives the governments an option to lie to the people again and say, oh, there's nothing to see here until the last minute when they start, doing whatever they're doing. So anyway, but that's just my crazy speculation. So you guys will publish this on social media. Um, will I hopefully will be able to make some of your work available on this podcast. Hint, hint.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
but anyway, David, I don't want to. I think we've covered what we can cover for now, and I think that if you're into remote viewing or aliens, then I think this is really something. And my next thing I would ask you, if you guys are going to do another project, is go on the ship. See if you can talk to anybody on the ship. If there's really, people there. And, like Ingo Swann went to the moon. So he saw those reptilians or whatever. So go on the ship, try to talk to those people. So
Hmm.
anyway, there's my challenge, the Encounters
Hmm.
USA challenge. All right. Well, speaking of Encounters USA challenges, I just want to say thank you, David, for being here.
Yeah, happy to chat with you, Matthew.
Yep. And it's been great talking to you, and it's really enlightening. And just remember what we always say at Encounters USA, if you're out remote viewing or you're out in the woods looking for aliens, Bigfoot or Dogman, always watch your back.